welcome to the show. I'm Rick Collins.
And I'm Mark Dulaney, and today we're diving into one of the most powerful forces behind change, and that is desire.
Yeah, we're not talking about surface level, I want a new car kind of stuff.
What about the desires, Rick, that we feel when we see an attractive, beautiful woman? Is that what you're talking about?
Not even close. We mean the deep internal pull that can flip the switch in your health, your money, your relationships, career, even your spiritual life.
You know that moment when you say, I can't keep living like this? That's desire knocking at your door. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how you can recognize it, trust it, and actually use it to create meaningful change in your life.
So whether you're feeling stuck, searching for purpose, or just ready to level up, this one's for you. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Creating Health and Wealth for Retirement podcast. This is for those who don't just want to retire, but want to live a fun, travel-filled, strong, and decades-long retirement. Your hosts are Rick Collins, the financial expert who'll help you build the wealth you need to retire with confidence, freedom, and zero stress. And Mark Dulaney, also known as the Health Millionaire, who will help you build the health, strength, and mobility to actually enjoy that wealth. Because let's be real, what's the point of financial security if you don't have the health to enjoy it? This podcast is for you if you are about 50 and up, have worked hard, saved smartly, sacrificed, invested wisely, and now want to lock in your future with the health and wealth you need for a great retirement. So listen up, because the best years of your life should be ahead of you, not behind you. In every episode, Mark and Rick break down the health, fitness, and financial strategies you need to create a thriving retirement, one that's strong, mobile, financially secure, and most of all, fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this episode of the Creating Health and Wealth for Retirement podcast. And Rick, I said it right the first time this time.
Hey, good job, Mark. You're getting better at this.
He's Rick Collins. He's going to help you create wealth for your retirement.
And that's Mark Dulaney. He's going to help you improve your health and your outlook on your future. It's going to be a great conversation today. What are we talking about, Mark?
Rick, that's the question I'm supposed to ask you because you came up with the topic this week.
We're going to talk about desire. Desire is one of the key ingredients to making change in your life. And we're not talking about, ooh, I got to have that new car, or ooh, that's a pretty woman, ooh, or wow, that hamburger looks really delicious. We're talking about a deep, almost guttural pull towards something we want in our lives. The thing that nudges us to get off the couch, to take action. We talk about lust and desire. Well, lust is wanting something temporary and surface level, but desire is that little spark that pulls me towards something greater in the future, and it makes me take action today. Does that make sense?
So, Rick, I don't want to be sexist. Sometimes women look at men and see things and have desire too. So let's not just make it look at a woman. Sometimes you ladies may want to look at men and have desire. I get it.
That's never happened to me, so I don't know, because, if this weren't a podcast, you'd see my great big bobblehead, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, it happened to me once. I was a baby. I was 2 months old. Women loved me back then. But I think you bring up an interesting point. I'm excited to see what we put together for this podcast. And if you're listening to us right now, just understand what the desire Rick is talking about is life-changing. And that's what we aim to do, right? We aim to change the trajectory of a person's life so they create health and wealth and, not in the title, love for retirement. Not just desire or, lust like you talked about. So, Rick, lead us in a conversation and help us enlighten us.
It's easy to get stuck in a rut and become apathetic or settle for a life that is mediocre. But to finally hit the gym or leave a job, a dead-end job, or take a risk and start a business or work on repairing a relationship, it requires a deeper motivation. That's desire. That's thinking today of, what do I want my life to look like in the future? And if I can envision that, the pull I feel towards that new reality is really what desire is. It's an intrinsic, internal need for something more.
So Rick, as you were talking, I would like to get your permission to change the word from desire to purpose. Because I think that's really what you're talking about. I think you're really talking about helping people find their purpose in life.
Definitely, finding true purpose. Yeah, I mean, we have a desire for something different, and that something different is often a true purpose or calling in life, or a new reality that we want to create for ourselves.
Right. And so if someone is maybe making 50 grand a year in a job they barely like, and they decide that they really were called, even if they still make 50,000, but they enjoy doing it, that's a purpose, not just a career or a job. Does that make sense? Like, I hope that makes sense to everyone who hears that.
Yeah, people get stuck in a job and that they hate, but they've got bills to pay, and they often just can't walk away. Or people are in a relationship that's unhappy and unhealthy. Do they really want to stay there, or do they want to improve that relationship, or maybe end a toxic relationship to live up to their true purpose in life?
And I think the same thing is true with money, right? Instead of just making a paycheck and spending it all, what if you had a purpose of creating a great retirement, investing your money with someone like Rick, or Rick himself specifically, because he's amazing at it, and actually building a future retirement where you have actually money you can enjoy life? I think the difference between a desire, as I've heard you describe it, Rick, because you did it so well, desire is, hey, I want this. We were talking about In-N-Out Burger versus Whataburger. That's a desire. I'd love to try them both, but that's not a purpose. And I would love it if someone listened to this episode of this podcast and decided, my purpose is so much greater than what I've been going after so far. Whether it's love, whether it's money, career, or whether it's with their body. So you had an agenda, Rick. Continue talking to us about desire. We'll just know it's about purpose. Tell us what else you had in mind for us to know today.
Okay, we have a desire to live up to our purpose. How about that?
That sounds great.
I often work with people when I sit down in a discovery call. I ask them what they want to accomplish in their life, and most people focus on I want so many dollars in the bank because I'm a finance guy. So many dollars in the bank. I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to travel more. And then I ask them questions about, well, what about your family? What do you want to accomplish for your family? Or what do you want different for your spouse or your church or your charity? How do you want your life to look? And when I start asking questions, we go through everything from relationships to spirituality to self improvement, skill building, learning new languages, experiencing new foods or cultures. It's when I get people to think outside the immediate. Rick's talking about finance, so we're going to talk about money. Well, I want people to expand their horizons of, if you had more money, how else would your life change? And I really connect with people because they see a path. They see, well, if I had money in retirement, I could do these three things that I've always wanted to do, but never had the time, energy, or money to do them. And that brings them out of their shell. And actually, the more they can see a better picture of the future, the more likely they are to stick to the strategies we develop. So it's not just about money. It's about more than just money. It's oftentimes comes down to, what am I going to do that's going to be significant to my life, to other people around me, and to my family in the future?
And the biggest deterrent to long-term success is immediate gratification. If someone doesn't figure out how to deal with their immediate need for gratification, be it through food, be it through spending, be it through illicit sex, be it through television, social media, they will never fulfill their true purpose and their true desires.
It's interesting. If you talk to a 5-year-old and ask them what they want to do, what they want to be when they grow up, they want to be an astronaut. They want to be a magician. They want to be in a band and tour the country. And then they go to school. And the school often tells them they learn what's realistic or practical, what's possible, and their future view shrinks down to what's practical. And so we're taught to downplay the desire to be more, do more, have more because it's not realistic. Well, limiting our imagination really limits our potential. And so if you can envision it, it's possible. If you think you can or you can't, either way, you are right. But especially if you think you can't do something, it's never going to happen.
So you just gave me a great idea for next week's show. I call it Perspective and Normal. It's how we became the adults we became. And with your permission, boss, we're going to make that next week's episode. But for now, back to your idea of desire and my amending it to a little bit of purpose. I cannot express this enough. If you are the average of the 10 people you spend the most time with. Meaning, if you spend time with people who just care about social media and today, then you're going to care about social media today. So sometimes you have to change your affiliations with people. And that can be really, really tough if you marry somebody who doesn't believe in your new vision. And you hang around with friends and brothers and parents and all those things. So consider everything as you think about what is it I really want. Do you want what everyone else around you wants, or do you want something bigger? Because everything that requires growth requires sacrifice. And sometimes
in the personal finance world, the saying is your network determines your net worth. So it's the exact same thing. If I hang out with people who are struggling to make ends meet, I'm not going to learn anything new. But if I go hang out with people who have what I want, the financial security and independence, the travel, the cars, the boats, the toys, whatever, if I hang around those people who are truly wealthier than me, both in relationships, money, experiences, my life will gravitate towards that. So, but for example, if I hang out with, four guys that go to a bar every night and gripe about their marriages, well, guess what? My marriage is not going to get any better because I'm hanging around people who are negative. So it can move you either direction, positive or negative. Who you hang around with will impact how you live your life.
So all my stories are true, but I want to tell you a true story. When I married my first wife, my best friend, he was also married. He used to tell me about his extramarital conquests. And I remember one day saying to him, I don't want you to tell me those things anymore because you're influencing me to want to do the same thing. And I said, do it. I wish you would stop, but don't tell me about anything outside of that. And he stopped. He honored my request. And made it so much easier for me to be faithful to my wife than it was when he was making me, because, this applies to money. It applies to health. It applies to relationships. Short-term fun is always more immediate gratification and seems like more fun than working to build what you truly want. Spending money is more fun than building wealth. Eating burgers and fries and all those fun things is more fun than building a body that will last you for 80 or 90 years. And being faithful to one person and building that relationship that you can trust and depend on someone for life, that is a hard thing to do. And those short-term dalliances that a lot of people take, they only take away from that. Because once someone stops trusting you, they stop trusting you forever.
Yeah, you make a good point. If I choose to do stuff today that's going to benefit me in the future, a lot of people will call that selfish. Well, you're just being selfish. No, in actuality, if I am working towards my true purpose in life, for what God put me on this planet for, what I want my life to be like, that's more sacred than selfish. I'm doing something more important than the current, I call it plastic crap, the microwave satisfaction of today, the quick fix for today. That's what's really selfish, because I'm cheating my future self out of a life that I could have, and I'm cheating other people out of who I could become if I would invest time, energy, and money in myself today for that future self.
So it's an interesting thing that you talk about future self, because I believe that if we actually look to the future and say, let's say I'm 64, if I talk to my 85-year-old self about the life that I could create if I thought about myself as that person, as opposed to the immediate gratification of fun that I want today, that I might make way better decisions. Now, I'm 64. I remember when I was 44, and I remember all the things I did that have no value or purpose in my life whatsoever. They don't benefit me at all. They're just distant memories, and the older you get, the less you remember. So I don't remember what I did when I was 44. So working towards what you truly want is purpose. And if you picture yourself 20 years from now, what do you want to create? And all you do every day is work to make that happen. I promise you, you're going to be ahead of 95% of the people on the planet, because most people are just thinking, how can I survive today?
Yeah, when I think about going to the gym, I mean, people will tell me, yeah, I want to go to the gym. I want to get healthier. I want to be healthier. I want to eat better. That's why the gym is packed on New Year's Day, and by the second week of January, it's empty. But if I can change my view to, I want to be able to dance with my grandkids when I'm 70, or I want to be more powerful in my body when in my 80s, that more crystallized image or vision of the future will give me more motivation to do things today, because I'm not working for today. I'm working for something better down the road.
And in addition, how about I don't want a walker? I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I don't want to be in and out of the hospital. I don't want to be taking 10, 20 pills a day. I don't want to depend on the government for a Social Security check. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be dating. There's so many things we don't want to do that we don't think about. If we thought about those things today, there's less likelihood. Well, if we thought about those things today that we don't want, and we create a plan to have what we do want, it's way more likely we'll end up living a great life in the future. But to me, Rick, and I'll just let you go from here, the key component is making a decision that tomorrow, next month, next year is way more important than the momentary pleasure I can have today.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The more clear that vision is, whether it's next month, next year, 20 years from now, it activates a whole new level of discipline for today, and it makes it easier to do what you need to do along the way. We've been through some coaching before with a guy that we both got a lot out of. I can't mention his name because I don't want to pay royalties, but the clearer the vision for a future self, the more powerful it is to draw us off the couch today, whether that's going to the gym, saving some money for my future, learning a new skill, reading a new book, whatever that future self looks like translates backwards to today of giving me more motivation to be disciplined, because I'm not budgeting my time, energy, money, whatever. I'm investing it in building freedom for tomorrow, if I can just see that clearly enough.
So, Rick, you talked about some great things today. We talked about purpose, have a purpose. We talked about associations. You can't have a purpose of greatness while you associate with mediocrity. I hate to say it that way. You got to associate with people who also have a purpose. And then you talked about future self. We talked about future self. As you prepared for this lesson today, what else did you have in mind for us today? How we can help someone create that purpose and make that desire come true.
And a lot of times I run across people who have a limited view of themselves. They've either gone through a lot in their lives and they've been disappointed, and they've been hurt by other people. They've been hurt by circumstances, or they're sick or injured or whatever. And that diminishes how they see themselves. So when I talk to people, I ask them, what do you want out of life? And they tell me, I'm like, well, if there were no limits on what you could accomplish or what you could have, what would it be like? And it's often the first time they've ever thought outside their little sandbox. They've got blinders on. They see, this is my life. I can never have more because I'm not worthy, or nobody's going to love me. I'm not strong enough. I'll never have enough money. There's a bunch of negativity in people's lives that kind of cloud how they see themselves and how they see their future. So when I ask the question behind the question and make them really think and kind of almost justify why they are living a limited life, they realize that they are living in a prison in their own mind, and they've got the keys in their hand, but they're afraid. They either don't know they can break free of that prison, or they're so scared of change that they want to stay where they are.
And so over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about some topics that I think are really, really helpful. If you haven't listened to those past episodes, I highly recommend you go back. So for example, we talked about consistency and persistence. Whatever it is that you're going to, this life you want to create, it does require consistency and persistence. Rick, you asked the question, what if? What if you did, what if you went for it all out? How great would that be? We talked about love versus fear. We talked about the 5 fingers of failures. If you look at our library, you will find some amazing content and topics to help you on this journey. And that's the word I want to use now, Rick, journey. If success, true success, were easy, everyone would do it. The reason true success is hard is because it requires a journey. And I think it requires 2 journeys. The physical journey of what you do every day, but also requires the mental and emotional journey that you're going to go through as you take this journey. How quickly will you quit? How persistent are you going to be? How much do you want to overcome those obstacles? How much can you take people laughing at you and making fun of you? Like, all those things come into play on this journey. And every journey starts with another episode that we did, which is take that first step. Take the first step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And before you know it, life's different.
And often that first step is realizing I want more, or realize, the first step is often, hey, I'm unhappy with where I am. I want more. I'm made for more than this. I deserve a better relationship. I want to be seen. I want to be heard, or I want to be relevant, or I want more financial security. I want a better body. I want stronger muscles. I want more mobility. I don't like where I am. And that restlessness is sometimes, like in recovery. I work in recovery, and the first step is admitting you've got a problem. Well, the first step in what I see is somebody's journey is realizing I don't like where I am. I want something different. I have to do something different. I can't keep living like this, like we talked about earlier. And that really is the beginning of a new life, is realizing I don't have to stay stuck where I am. I'm worth more. I can be more, do more, have more. And a lot of times the mental aspect of I need to become more so I can do more, be more, have more, and suck less is one of my phrases. But yeah, I think the first step is really being not real about where you are. And then the very next step, or the first step after that, is what do I want?
I think one of episode 25, we talked about fear versus love. And I truly believe that there's a voice in your head when you make a big proclamation that's going to present you with fear. And I think one of the important steps to overcome is to overcome that fear, and to actually do that which you said you would do. It's hard. Rick, you and I talk every week in our mastermind, and every week we make plans, and I'm going to talk about my plans and how often I've allowed fear to talk me out of my plans. And I'm being transparent here. If someone says they have no fear, they're probably lying. It's our ability to overcome that fear and to not give up on the onset of fear. But one of the biggest challenges of this journey, when I talked about the mental emotional part, is the idea that we've got to overcome our fear. And I said this in that episode, I'll say it again. Where you fear or act out of fear, you struggle. Where you act out of love, pursuing what you want, you thrive. Or you'll at least be way more successful, have way more joy, and have a better life where you love as opposed to where you fear. And so overcoming fear has got to be one of your major steps.
Yeah, there's so many different kinds of fear. What real fear really stands for, there's an acrostic which we do use in recovery. It's false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real is fear. So if I have a fear of failure, or a fear of success, or a fear of change, or a fear of being alone, or fear of crowds, fear of losing my job, that is a limiting.
How about the biggest one, Rick? I just want to say the biggest one, fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection. I was getting to that one, but
All right,
yeah.
I apologize. Continue.
But a lot of those fears can be, summarized in a fear of rejection. If I start a business and it fails, well, that means people rejected me. If I pursue a relationship and it doesn't work out, I'm going to feel like I've been rejected. The scary thing is when unhealthy people don't go to the gym because they're afraid they're going to be mocked. That's a fear of rejection. They don't want to be rejected. They don't want to feel like they're rejected by the people, the healthy people at the gym. So when I see a 300-pound person in the gym, I will go tell them, "Hey, great job. I'm glad you're here," because they have a fear that they're going to not fit in, and so that limits them from going to the gym to make themselves feel better and to get more healthy, get healthier. Yeah. That's Louisiana Public Education. Get more healthy, get healthier.
So one sure way to experience rejection is to hang around with people with a, for lack of a better term, $100 mindset when you want to make $1 million. It's to hang around people with a short term, I want to have fun today mindset when you're thinking about your future, whether it's a year from now or 10 years from now. And when you're in a relationship with someone that you love and you want to spend your life with them and everybody else is just dating, even if they're married, they're still dating. Those things will create fear because you feel like you're going to be rejected for wanting something different than what the people you surround yourself with. So sometimes the best path to create your purpose is to find a new group of people to spend your time with.
Yeah, if you're talking to your close friends about dreams, aspirations, and goals, and they tell you it's never going to happen, why are you kidding yourself? You need some new friends. True friends will be supportive and understanding.
So it's funny, when I was in high school and college, the people that I hung around with used to tell me that I talk like I'm white because I spoke proper English. Now you can't see me because it's a podcast, but I'm a black man. And I used to always think that was so funny that people would say proper English means you talk like you're white. Needless to say, those people weren't my friends for very, very long. And because I think speaking proper English makes you more acceptable to people who are trying to do something special in life. And I just think that association, we could do an entire episode on association. I think association is one of the biggest deals in a person's life. Starting with parents, where they give you their limitations or they give you their expectations, the friends you hang around with, the teachers, the school system you go to, all those associations create direction in your life. So choose who you spend your time with wisely. Because if you choose it with the wrong people, you're going to end up where they are. And I think that's an important thing about your purpose.
I agree. Good point.
Which is why we hang out together, because you make me want to grow. You make me want to grow, Rick. Thank you. Thank you for being my partner. You make me want to go to the gym
and be healthier. So we're building each other up. It's a good friendship.
So talking about the purpose and the association and all the stuff we did, I have also learned the hard way that who your partner in life is, be it a husband, be it a wife, they determine a lot of your purpose or what you want to accomplish. I met for the first time in my life maybe a woman that makes me want to be a better man. And that actually feels amazing to have to say, hey, I just want to be better just for her. And I hope you, Rick, listener, have found that person that makes you want to do more and be better so that they will be proud of you, because that's an amazing thing to feel.
It's, I am truly blessed. My wife is very supportive. We got married a little over 6 years ago, and I told her about what I wanted to do in my personal life with my business. And she's like, I'm on board. What do you need me to do? Instead of that'll never work. And I will contrast that to a previous wife. I had told her I wanted to invest in real estate and grow some business outside of my job. And she said, no, that's too risky. And I looked at her, I'm like, well, if I die at my desk of a heart attack, isn't that a risk too? Which would you prefer? And she's like, I don't think that's not a good idea. I don't want you to do that. And I was bitter about that for a long time. And, but my wife, she's an amazing woman. She's very supportive. What do you need me to do? I believe in you. You know, I went on a 4-hour road trip to Dallas a couple of months ago, and she put Post-it notes in my luggage about how I admire your hustle and I believe in you. You can do this. And it's very, very supportive and encouraging, which is so helpful to when I'm taking risks and doing things for us, that she sees what I'm trying to do and is supportive in that. It's really amazing.
So we are running out of show, Rick, because we want to be fair. And I think that this was a great topic that you brought up today. I realize that the next step is always about the next step. What is the next step for you as a listener into how you start to live your true desire to become something purposeful? And, you know, who do you need to kick out of your life? Who do you need to bring into your life? How do you need to change how you see and spend money? How do you need to change how you see and spend calories? And how do you change how you love someone who you truly, genuinely love? Rick, any final thoughts for this episode?
Yeah, I want to encourage our listeners to reach out to Mark and I, or a friend, counselor, whatever. Talk to a good friend about what you want in your life. Talk about, have a mastermind. Talk about some goals and plans. And if they give you positive feedback and support, those are true friends. So be aware of who you're around. But, if somebody wants to talk about finances or goal setting, or they can definitely talk to me. And Mark, I know you do health and emotional transformations as well, right?
Yes, mental and emotional transformations. And basically speaking, everyone who has a conversation with me comes out thinking one of two things. He's an idiot. I don't need to listen to him. Or I get it. I understand how I can be better. And I think it comes more from their mindset than from mine. But ultimately speaking, I love speaking to people who convict me either positively or negatively. I don't want someone who makes me go, oh, okay. And that's what I am. Rick, next week, I want to ask everyone who listens to us this question. Are you proud of yourself? Are you proud of what you did today? Are you proud of how you treated your spouse today? Are you proud of yourself? That's going to be our topic for next week with your approval, sir.
I like it. Let's do it.
All right. Any last thoughts and contact information or anything for today?
If anybody wants to talk to me about their finances as well as some personal goals, go to bankingforyourself.com. That's the word for FOR, bankingforyourself.com. And you can schedule a discovery call.
And whether you want to talk to Rick or me, we have a podcast website at creatinghealthandwealthforretirement.com. From there, you can listen to all of our episodes, and you can also click on the hosts, and you can learn more about Rick. You can learn more about me, and it also has our websites and contact information there. So that's creatinghealthandwealthforretirement.com. Rick, I hope you have a great week. I can't wait to see what we create when we talk about, are you proud of yourself? Rick, I know your answer. You're going to be surprised at my answer.
I am a work in process. I am flawed, but miraculously designed, and I'm living up to be God's perfect design.
This show, by the way, is being recorded during the Holy Week or Easter weekend. And I don't know what your religious affiliation is, but we are so blessed by what Jesus did on Good Friday and coming up on Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. And I feel it every day, and I'm so happy, and I'm so thrilled that has happened, and I can be free. That's all I got for this week, Rick.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I appreciate your listening. I hope you got something out of this. It's just two guys keeping it real and offering some, what we think, good advice. Have a great week. We'll see you again soon.